Hi, I'd like to share a lesson about the poor from the book of Proverbs with you. The book of Proverbs has a lot to say about helping poor people and being generous and having a heart for the needy. And so let's just go through about 10 verses here from Proverbs and gather some thoughts. The first one is helping the poor honors God. In Proverbs 14:31 it says, "He who oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God." And Proverbs 17:5 says, "He who mocks the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever gloats over disaster will not go unpunished." And so a sense of what goes around will come around, that God is not mocked, that we'll reap what we sow. So a good question is, how do we honor God by helping the poor? That's a good thought. The second topic is we need to respect the poor. In Proverbs 19:1 it says, "Better the poor whose walk is blameless than a fool whose lips are perverse." Or Proverbs 28:6 says, "Better the poor whose walk is blameless than the rich whose ways are perverse." And so how are the poor disrespected? We need to respect the poor, and how are they disrespected, and how do we hurt them and not show them dignity? Third topic is we need to provide spiritual gifts. It's a gift to be able to help other people. Proverbs 19:17 says, "He who is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward him for what he has done." Proverbs 22:22 says, "Do not exploit the poor because they are poor, and do not crush the needy in court." So we need to honor the poor and respect them. So what do you gain by helping the poor? That's the question. We all gain something. We benefit from helping others. The next thought is number 4 is to gain a heart for the poor. Proverbs 21:13 says, "If a man shuts his ears to the cry of the poor, he too will cry out and not be answered." Proverbs 18:23, "The poor plead for mercy, but the rich answer harshly." How can we gain a heart for the poor? I think listening to their story. Everybody has a story, and if we'll take the time to listen, things are the way they are for reasons, and so we need to listen for those reasons and listen to people's narrative and hear their story. Number 5, God is sovereign. Listen to these verses. Proverbs 22:2, "Rich and poor have this in common, the Lord is the maker of them all." Proverbs 13:18, "Whoever disregards discipline comes to poverty and shame, but whoever heeds correction is honored." Some people are poor because they choose to be, and others because it's just the circumstances they have. And so we need to be careful not to stereotype people. Why are some people rich and others poor? There's a good hard question to wrestle with. Why are some people rich and others poor? It's not necessarily a matter of talent or hard work in all those cases. Number 6, a call to be generous. Call to generosity. Proverbs 22:9, "The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor." Proverbs 14:20, "The poor are shunned even by their neighbors, but the rich have many friends." Unfortunately, how much is generous though? If we're called to be generous, how much is generous? Good, hard question too. Number 7, let's have open-handed generosity. Proverbs 28:27, "Those who give to the poor will lack nothing, but those who close their eyes to their needs will receive many curses." Proverbs 10:15, "The wealth of the rich is their fortified city, but poverty is the ruin of the poor." So let's not put people down when they're down and hurting. We need to help them up. We need to give a helping hand. And, people are in different circumstances for a lot of different reasons. And our first move always needs to be one of redemption and generosity and help. So what should we give? If we need to be open-handed, what should we give? Number 8, justice for the poor. Proverbs 29:7, "The righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern." Proverbs 13:23, "An unplowed field produces food for the poor, but injustice sweeps it away." What is justice for the poor is the question. How do we show justice? How do we protect the rights of the marginalized, the hurting, those that can't defend themselves, the defenseless? There needs to be justice for the poor. Then number 9, a nation can be blessed if they're generous. National blessing. Listen to this, Proverbs 29:14. If a king judges the poor with fairness, his throne will be established forever. In Proverbs 28:3, a ruler who oppresses the poor is like driving rain that leaves no crops. So how are nations blessed? By caring for the poor. And how are some nations not blessed? For neglecting the poor. Number 10, let's serve the poor. Proverbs 31:20, she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. That's the Proverbs 31 woman. And so we all need to be like that. We need to serve the poor. Proverbs 19:7, the poor are shunned by all their relatives. How much more their friends avoid them. Though the poor pursue them with pleading, they are nowhere to be found. So we need to not shun the poor. We need to serve the poor. So how can you and I serve the poor? Think about that in your life. Think of ways that you can help poor people. And then the last thought, just in conclusion, we all need to be content and share. Proverbs 30, verses 7-9 says, 2 things I ask of the Lord. Lord, do not refuse me before I die, and help keep falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise, I may have too much and disown you, or I may become poor and steal, and so dishonor the name of my God. So he's saying, God, give me just enough. I don't need to be rich, but please help me not to be poor. I want to be content. Please meet my needs. And that needs to be all our prayers. Amen? Live simple, godly lives, righteous lives, generous lives. Let's help the poor. Let's have a heart that cares for other people's needs. Let's look to the needs of others, and that God will provide for us and provide enough to share with others. It's great to share this lesson with you. I pray that it's a blessing in your life.